gardens and decades of experience, Charlie Dimmock is one of Britain's best-loved gardeners.
I'm in the element, boys!
But the Rich brothers are the new trendsetters. Winners of multiple medals at the Chelsea Flower Show,
It's perfect, look at that.
Yeah.
the boys have become known for their dramatic outdoor spaces. Now, these two different generations of gardening are going head-to-head.
I know they've got a gold medal, but I can come up with a few ideas.
They're meeting frustrated garden owners across the country
What do you like about the garden? Nothing!
and will each pitch them a design based on their needs
You look confused.
Yeah. Go for it.
and budget. The winner
Yeah.
brings their design to life, and the loser has to help them build it. This is what happens
Oh, my goodness me!
when different styles collide
What
Put
have
it like
you
that.
done, Charlie?
Oh, shut up.
to turn garden dreams into reality.
Wow! You've created an amazingly magical space.
It's time for Charlie and the Rich brothers to find out which garden they're competing to design this time.
Here we have Sue from Wallasey.
Yeah.
Very happy, nice colourful jacket. And this here is her garden.
Not so colourful.
No, that is just an expanse of concrete and slate.
It is a little bit, isn't it? It's very sterile.
Where do we start with my garden? It's horrendous. It's just an absolute jungle of concrete. And I just don't know what to do with it, basically.
This is actually a really important garden to Sue because 9 years ago, her and her husband made their dream move to Thailand. But unfortunately, and very suddenly, Sue's husband passed away. And ever since, she's been moving around a lot, but she's finally settled at her home. So this is why she wants to make the garden really special.
So it's her forever garden.
Yes, exactly.
It wasn't just my husband, he was my best mate. You know, he was everything, but, you know, hey-ho, life goes on.
As if that wasn't enough to cope with, Sue then also lost her mum.
It has been quite difficult. I just want the garden to be nice, so where I can go and sit outside and feel that they're all around me. Everywhere, wherever I go in the garden, that they're there with me.
And how much is the budget?
So the budget is £2,000. So it's quite a small budget.
Yeah, but it doesn't look like a huge garden, does
It's
it?
not at all, is it?
Our rival designers get straight to work. Each of them will come up with a design for Sue's garden that works within her budget. Sue will then have to choose a winner, and whoever loses will have to help the winner build the garden. The £2,000 budget will be spent on materials, whilst Charlie and the Rich brothers, along with a crack team of landscapers, provide the labour. It's time for the designers to pitch their ideas.
Okay. Oh, wow. Oh, nice, good first comments. Downhill from here.
Sue, you were after a garden that was much more colourful than it is.
Yes.
So hopefully I've done that.
What was important for us was to take up all these concrete slabs.
Oh, yes.
The materials that we bring in are going to be nice and natural.
Yeah.
And obviously the plants. So the paving here, we're going to use nice sort of natural, like sandstone, something like that. That's going to give that slightly more cottagey feeling.
Nice.
And that has that nice defined route through the garden and across the house. But then the main part and the main purpose of this garden is really give you that lovely, entertaining social space.
Yeah.
And we thought it'd be lovely to have that out of timber decking, because it gives that nice, cosy, warm material, but also it's this lovely, amply big space.
So I've kept a big seating area in the sun trap, but I've gone with a new patio with a natural stone to get rid of that grey, dark colour. This is your patio doors. We have a walkway leading to the back gate.
But it's the planting that will really add vitality to Sue's small space.
With these planting beds, we wanted it to feel very colourful, very vibrant, kind of really uplifting this space.
Yeah.
But then scent is really important, so like salvia and nepeta and maybe some lavender.
When it comes to plants, I've gone full-on cottage, so things like fuchsias, clematis, verbascums, lots of daisy-type flowers, so you've got colour going right from early spring all the way through to the late summer.
Brilliant.
Despite the garden currently being pretty bare, Sue was clear that there were important elements that needed to be carried over into the new design.
I want to keep 2 of the roses because they're very special to me. This is in memory of my husband who died 9 years ago, and the other one is in memory of my mum. Would they be able to be incorporated into
Yes,
this design?
100%. Yeah, exactly how they are now, basically. We'd like to sit them within the odd planting bed, pick a nice spot that has more of a focus on it.
Right.
So whether it's this planting bed here that you can see from the house and from within the garden. But yeah, we definitely like to incorporate them.
Lovely.
Undoubtedly, both designers are offering a beautiful space for Sue to relax in. But it's time for them to play their aces to try and bag a win. What special touches have they got up their sleeves?
There's something lovely about sitting in a sunny spot, hearing the sound of water just gently trickling. It makes you feel calm, cool and relaxed. But I did think your lovely little bird bath ornament could be underneath and the water dropped down into it, or your little angel sat on the side with his butterfly.
We've got these things called pleached trees. So they're basically trees that have been trained on a trellis work. So they're quite thin, they don't take up much space, but they're going to give that little bit of slightly extended privacy in the garden, but also a little bit of vertical interest.
Along that area?
Yes, yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Yeah.
We'd like to use apple, so they get blossom early on in the spring, and then they've got foliage in the summer, and then it gets the little fruits and an autumn colour. Any questions?
No, other than don't say water feature.
We didn't go for a water feature.
No,
we
that's-
put the budget into things like the pleached trees,
yeah.
like having nice quality materials like the timber and the natural stone slabs.
No, that's fine.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. See you in a bit.
Thank you. Fabulous. Thank you.
It's now time for Sue to choose just one design. Will she be won over by Charlie's water feature, or will she opt for the Rich Brothers' pleached apple trees and clean modern deck?
And it's a very, very hard decision because I like both of them so much.
Hello.
Hey.
I have thought long and hard, and I have chosen. And I can reveal.
Wow, amazing.
I'm so sorry, Charlie, but
That's all right.
this one, I just feel like I'm getting 2 gardens in one.
So even not having the water feature, you've still chosen
Yeah.
us.
We
Yeah.
thought that was it. We thought,
No. I can always get a water feature at a different date.
yes. Oh, lovely. Very exciting.
I'm very made up, as we say in Liverpool. Made up.
So the Rich Brothers bag this one. But if they're going to transform Sue's concrete jungle into a plant-filled paradise, they'll certainly need Charlie's help. It's the first day of the build and the team are up and at 'em. As well as the gravel being removed, the pavers and concrete base all have to go to make way for the new garden. The Rich Brothers have asked that the fence be painted a dark carbon grey colour. The crushed limestone base is compacted for the path before Kyle sets the riven sandstone. In the absence of a cement mixer, it's back to basics in Wallasey.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Steady?
Yeah.
Go, go.
Oh, you moved mine for a big one.
Yes, boss.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Meanwhile, Harry, David and Charlie are approaching. And since the Rich Brothers won this pitch, they're bossing the build.
This garden's all about geometry and proportions. It's about creating a lovely, colourful, scented, but also very relaxing space to encourage Sue to get out in the garden again. And one of the main focuses within this space is is the decking. Now, it's a lovely natural material, but the reason we've positioned it where it is because it gets most of the sun. So it's really going to be a perfect place for her to enjoy. And along with those pleach trees, along that boundary, it's really going to feel like a cosy and a comfortable space to be out in the garden.
And the guys have been super busy laying this sandstone pathway, and this leads into the second part of the garden. Now, within this area, we've got this large planting bed, and that's going to be scented plants in there. This is going to be divided by hedging, which again creates these individual pockets. And on this side of the garden, up against the boundary, we're going to retain these roses, and that's going to give you romance in the space.
Meanwhile, Carl and Joe are fixing the deck boards into position. The brothers have asked for the boards to be smooth side up for a sleek, modern look. While the power tools are out in the garden, Charlie's escaped round the front to get stuck into some projects of her own.
So this is a pallet, quite an unusual shape. So I'm going to sort of zhuzh this up a bit, sand it down and plant it up, and then put some little tea lights on it in jam jars, which I have to say, I like candles in the garden because they give quite an atmospheric feel. So, yeah, and I'm quite happy out here on my own, unless the boys come along and irritate me.
And right on cue, here comes Harry.
Whoa, Jazz, look at this. What are you making? Explain.
Well, you wanted the light, so I'm thinking maybe the odd plant here, some candles, yeah?
Lovely.
So I'm thinking maybe that'll be a nice contrast. Sand it down a bit,
Yeah,
yeah?
sand it down would be lovely, wouldn't it?
All right, well, go on then.
I better go back in and see Dave.
It might be a small garden, but there's lots to do. Well, look at that. Sands up quite well, doesn't it? Not too bad.
Harry's making way for the surprise element of the garden he's got planned especially for Sue.
We didn't pitch a water feature to Sue when we showed her the design, and I think it's something that she really wanted. So after me and Dave left, we thought how nice it would be to actually incorporate that into the garden. Been a couple of positions we thought of, but I think it's going to lie here. So I'm excited to have something that she doesn't know is going to be in the garden, a nice little surprise. So I'm just prepping it now, and then I'm going to have a little think about how to build it.
And out front, Charlie's having to be a bit wily to get all the materials necessary for her palette project.
So it's really, really tight budget. I just had to steal a little bit of feather board from the fence just to make some planting pockets. Going to have a couple of planting pockets, one there, but I'm really pleased with the way this is sanded up. Pop that in like that. That's planting pockets done.
She's commandeered Andy's help with the next stage of the project, attaching the Jubilee clips to the palette, which will hold the glass jars.
These jam jars, 79p, very cute. And because they're ridged like that, it'll make the candles sparkle slightly. And then I've got these candles, 3 for £1. So let's say that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 pounds. 12 pounds I've spent on bits and bobs, and then another £5 on some plants to go in it.
In the side entrance, the pleached apple trees have arrived that the boys have planned to flank 2 sides of the garden.
Look at these.
Wow, those are lovely.
They're looking gorgeous. Right, I'll take this one in. And then we can start lining them up.
They fit through the alleyway quite nicely, don't they?
It's going to look gorgeous here in the corner. Now, pleaching is just the art of training branches onto a framework, but retaining this lovely vertical clear stem. Now, you almost need to treat it as a hedge in the sky. And how you'd plant a hedge is you'd make sure there's lots of plants to create that lovely impact and structure. So it's exactly the same with these peach trees. They always look nicer in a group. It accentuates the line, which is quite nice. It also gives that lovely atmosphere when you've got a few more bunched together. Fantastic. And you can already see actually how it's making such a dramatic difference at informally screening the windows there of the neighbours and the surrounding houses. But they're not the cheapest of trees. They come in about £150 to £200, depending on the size that you get. But it's totally worth it. And the reason it is that little bit more money is because the nursery takes the time in training them onto the frameworks themselves. So I think within a small space and making a lovely bit of impact for Sue, they're the perfect choice.
Charlie's made great progress with her candle holder too, but needs to manoeuvre it into position before finishing it off.
Right. Actually quite heavy now. Oh, it's all right. It's meant to be random. Went for random. That's my excuse and I'm sticking to it. Wow, it's all happening in here. Blimey. So where do you want this, boys? In that hole there. It's not going to fill it.
To be honest, in this hole,
I have to do a bit of painting because I really need to get this in position. I think there. If I paint that, put it in the middle.
Lovely.
While Charlie finds the right spot for it, the peach trees are planted. Because the trees are being planted in the summer, Sue will need to keep them well watered until they establish.
You did that up tight. Don't you just kick that bit of artwork I've done?
With the candle holder firmly attached, Charlie can add some plants to bring the structure to life.
Right, that's me saxifrage, nice and white. Much more of the boys' tasting. I would have gone for something a bit more flouncy, but the boys like that. And because there's only a small space in my planters, these little saxifrage will be fine in there. So it just adds a little bit of interest around the twinkly candle lights.
Harry's moved on to planting the cross of yew hedging that the boys have used to add evergreen structure to the garden.
With this hedging, it really does split up this bed. Without it, this bed would be quite large and quite daunting, but by simply dividing it through a kind of network of these hedges, it splits the bed up so they're smaller, they're more manageable, and you can play around with the different species that occupy this. The one thing with yew is that it doesn't like boggy or damp conditions, so if you do have a garden that has that slight issue, then you're better off going for more of a deciduous hedge, something like hornbeam or beech, something that will tolerate that slightly better, because it's a good rule of thumb that anything evergreen really doesn't like a boggy situation.
While Harry plants the evergreens, he's tasked Charlie with giving Sue's very precious roses some extra TLC.
There's some very straightforward, simple things to do when it comes to looking after roses. First of all, they don't like drying out in the hot summer weather. So what I'm going to do is lightly fork over the soil and then water it really well. Add a general rose fertiliser, and it's best to do that in the spring and then again after the first flush of flowers. Roses really don't like drying out, so one way to prevent that is to put a mulch over the soil. But before you do, you need to make sure the soil's nice and damp before you put the mulch on. So I'm going to give them a good water. Now, the thing about roses is if you look after them, they're a bit like human beings. If you're in, you're fed well, watered well, you're not stressed, then you're going to stay healthy. And that's true of roses as well. So if you feed them, water them, you'll find that you'll get much less in the way of pests and diseases because they're stronger and more vigorous. So when it comes to mulching your roses, there's lots of different things you can use. It's basically just sealing that moisture in. And the other positive thing from that is that it also stops weeds from coming up.
The boys are planting too. David's aiming to fill Sue's new garden with heady, sweet scent, by planting the bushy perennial Nepeta. With its plentiful mauve flowers, it's a hit with both gardeners and wildlife.
And these beautiful kind of grey-green leaves really do let off a lovely smell within the garden. So it's gorgeous alongside the path.
Harry's adding scented climbers too, to make sure the space is fragrant at every level.
Using honeysuckle is a great way of weaving a romance into a garden. Its sweet scent can often get caught in a breeze, and that really adds to its potency. So when Sue's in the garden, a lovely sunny day, she's not only going to have a gorgeous flower, but she's going to have a beautiful scent. Or it has started to pour down the rain now, so probably not the best for me, but I'm sure the honeysuckle's loving it.
Meanwhile, Andy and Kyle are grafting away in Carpentry Corner, conjuring some extra seating for the garden out of leftover decking boards.
Oh, look at this!
All right, boy?
Yeah, fantastic. It's so nice to be able to integrate seating into a garden. And by using the same deck boards as is on the deck, it's going to look very purposeful, and it's going to age and grey off all at the same time. And it's so nice because this is supposed to be a social space. It's where Sue and the rest of her friends and family can come and enjoy the garden. The more seating you have, and you've got more reason to sit down, really, haven't you?
The surplus decking boards have also been put to good use to make a frame for the water feature.
What I'm doing now is I'm just putting in a layer of sand at the bottom of the hole that I dug earlier, and that's going to create a lovely protective layer so that when the pond liner goes in, it's not going to rip it or damage it in any way. And once that layer of sand's in, I'm going to bring it to a nice level. I'm then going to sit this wooden form on top, which creates the structure of the water feature. I'm going to get the pond liner, I'm going to cut it to size, and I'm going to sink it inside that wooden box. I'm then going to cap it off with a nice little detail and fill it with water. I think it's going to be really nice for Sue as well, because when she comes out of the house, she's not really going to know it's here. It's only when she travels up onto this deck that she'll get her first look of it. So hopefully it's a lovely surprise that she feels adds to the garden.
Harry's using a PVC pond liner. At £20, it's a cost-effective option.
Before we staple it in, it's always the best idea to fill it up, and that weight of the water is going to really pull the liner in, and therefore we're not going to run the risk of having the liner too short. So we won't be here for too long, will we? But
Yeah.
long enough to have a cup of tea, maybe.
Once there's enough water in the pond to weigh down the liner, the corners are neatened out and it's stapled into place and trimmed. Next, it's finished off with some timber to give it all a sleek look.
We had a deck board which was left over from doing the decking, and we've stripped it to a nice thin piece like this, and it's going to have a lovely rapport with the decking, because when you do put elements like this into the garden, think about using the same material. So, you know, it runs off really nicely, it's sympathetic, and it look good.
A solar-powered pump is added to give a little movement to the water's surface.
Well, moment of truth, and definitely hasn't been the sunniest of days. But I suppose there's only one way to find out. Fantastic.
All that's left to do now are the finishing touches. Cottage garden favourites like cow parsley, lupins and aquilegia are planted in the borders. Sue's furniture is retrieved from the garage and put into position. And Charlie's placing some wooden planters around the deck that she's filled with pretty cottagey blooms. Before Sue called the garden rescue team, her backyard was a drab and uninspiring expanse of concrete. Now it's had a £2,000 revamp, and the Rich brothers have spent every penny creating a floral, scented oasis where Sue can spend time with friends and remember loved ones. The Riven Sandstone pavers cost £360. They bring the garden up to date and create a route around the space. The softwood deck adds warmth and is the perfect stage for Sue's new furniture. At £360, it was a sizable investment, but she'll hopefully spend many happy hours on it. The informal cottage planting scheme put a £420 dent in the budget, but has made the biggest impact on this space. The mix of perennials, shrubs and climbers will ensure this small garden is filled with scent, structure and colour from early spring to late autumn. The pleached apple trees add height, elegance and privacy. They're a real showpiece and well worth their £600 price tag. And last but not least, the water feature was a bargain at £50. Its gentle movement will provide a relaxing soundscape to the precious time Sue will spend in her very own tranquil hideaway.
We know that you've had quite a difficult past few years.
Yeah.
And that you really deserve to have a beautiful garden, somewhere that you can enjoy spending time in and just really enjoy looking at your garden grow. So we'd like you to open your eyes.
Oh my God.
Big difference, isn't it?
Oh,
What do you think?
oh, it's gorgeous.
Yes. Nice. Oh.
It's all a bit too much. Tears.
It's fabulous. And I love, oh, you've painted the fences and got a water feature.
Yeah. We thought that'd be a nice little surprise. We know it wasn't on the design,
Oh, that's great.
but we thought we'd put one in.
Wow.
What do you think of the pleached trees up there?
It's hey, Grace.
Aren't they lovely?
I won't be able to see my neighbour now going to the toilet.
You can make a little hole there.
Oh, no, it's absolutely fantastic. I can't thank you all enough.
So we've retained your rose plants there in the same bed that they were. We haven't moved them.
Yeah.
Those roses are going to do so well. We're going to fill that whole fence line up.
Well, should we go and explore?
Have a little look.
Let's go.
So we've got the water feature as well.
Yeah.
It's fabulous.
You love it?
I do. Absolutely gorgeous.
Nice. Harry was in the rain doing that.
It looks like I fell in, doesn't it?
It really is. It's absolutely, it's just stunning. I just feel so at ease and at peace. And I know that I'm going to be able to come out here and it's so manageable. And it's just gonna change my life so completely. Thank you both very much.
No worries. Absolute pleasure.
Do this so I can get a cuddle.
Yeah.
Lovely. Thank you very much.
After so much sadness over recent years, have the team given Sue the forever garden she so desperately wanted?
Well, I can honestly say that the garden has now completed my home, but not just my home, my mum and John's, and I think we're all going to be happy here for a long, long time.